We are rolling.
Good morning. Welcome back to the conversation. This is Midlife Crisis Activities. It's our lifestyle daily webcast. I'm your host, Patrick Russell, along with my vivacious producer. We're here to lend our voices to the noise and help explain everything that's right and wrong with this world. Good morning, Veronica. How are you today?
Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Happy Monday. And let's begin, Patrick. Back to you.
Very good. Okay, let's jump into it. A story that I came across that I kept returning back to because I just couldn't believe my eyes. Phillip Morris, longtime cigarette maker, I mean we're talking over 100 years, has now come out and has publicly denounced tobacco-based cigarettes and is now making a pledge that within the next 10 years they're going to be removing their famous Marlboro brand of cigarettes off of the shelves completely in the United Kingdom, but most business observers believe that that pledge will also extend to marketing pledges that Philip Morris will begin making in the United States and around the world. Now, the part of this story that just blew my mind was the fact that Philip Morris has for decades, mind you, spent hundreds of millions of dollars in marketing campaigns, in legal maneuvering to get legislation to protect tobacco industry, all with the notion that tobacco was safe. Tobacco was not addictive. Tobacco didn't cause cancer. I mean, there were for decades doctors that were on the Philip Morris payroll that were willing to go on record to say, hey, these cigarettes aren't harmful. As we know, history would show doctors would finally come together and voice their opinion strongly enough where legislation had to be made in order to start regulating the sale of tobacco and making the public aware of all the cancerous implications and all the health implications, things like emphysema, that are now well documented to be a product of your addiction to tobacco-based cigarettes. And now Philip Morris, the biggest purveyor of those deadly cancer sticks, is now doing a complete 180 in their marketing and are also suggesting that those tobacco-based products are terrible for you, the worst scourge that a person can do to their own health. I mean, the CEO is really using some very aggressive terms when it comes to now what he believes is an epidemic in this world that needs to be eradicated, and his country is now going to be taking the forefront in doing so. Now, why would you say a big company that has made billions of dollars and have protected that interest feverishly, why would they make such a radical move in their marketing and their business positioning? More money, of course. They understand that the next wave of products that's going to be taking over the cigarette industry is, of course, the vapors, the inhalers, the e-cigarettes, right? The smokeless tobacco products. They see that as the wave of the future, and now not only are they trying to revamp their image, right, getting away from that company that caused your dad to get cancer or emphysema in his 50s, and now moving on to a much trendier company that's ahead of the times, and are now going to be putting a lot of money into developing a new type of cigarette. And hey, what better way to introduce that new wave of product but by eliminating the previous king of the hill, by cutting it off by its knees and essentially calling it the cancer producing poison that they are. So here's another thing about the story that I just felt was important as a broader message, and it was about fake news, right? If you just stopped at the headlines, Philip Morris is now denouncing cigarettes, and in 10 years will remove all Marlboros from the stands of the UK, stores. If you just stop there, that could easily compel you to think that Philip Morris is a good company, an altruistic company that's looking out for the betterment of all mankind, and that, of course, would be fake news. How we avoid the fake news, it's easy, Veronica. frame of reference. We need to build up individually a frame of reference, an archive in our own mind that has been built up over time by what? Reading. You can't just read one article. You can't just read one headline. You have to be a reader. You have to stay informed. What happens if you take 15, 20 minutes out of every day in order to make sure that you stay current on all the major topics that pertain to you or pertain to your country? You find your trusted sources. You find your trusted journalists or news outlets that you know that over the course of your own personal history, after reading something, finding out it was true. Reading something, finding out it was true. Over the course of time, you know who to trust and you know who to believe. And more importantly, with this frame of reference, I can get through one headline and know it's fake news, or I know that there's something more to the story, right? All right, Veronica, sorry for all the pontification, but let me ask you something from a younger generation's perspective. What do you think about, first and foremost, Phillip Morris all of a sudden now changing course because it's a good marketing strategy and is now willing to put themselves as the savior of the public health system by trying to eradicate their own product?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that first? And then we'll talk about the fake news in just a second.
Well, what I see first, it's the money sign. And let's face it, younger people don't want to have a regular cigarette in their hands because it smells and it looks not fancy per se. So he is looking at the future, and by looking at the future, he's saying, "Hey, you know what?
The company Phillip Morris.
Yeah, there's a lot of younger generations that want to look cool, and this is my approach." And he's being smart about it, and by us pretending that he cares about people, I mean, that's a big deal, right? What he cares, I believe, based on what we're talking about right now, is the money.
Right.
And he sees the money signs in the future. And that's what he's doing.
I love that you brought that up, because if you want another BS meter that will cut through as fast as a hot knife through butter, follow the money, right?
Money sign.
Once you discover the motive and the tie-in to the generating of money, you found the truth. And that's 99.9%. So let's swing it back around to the Phillip Morris story. The headline alone didn't indicate the monetary reason for that. And so you had to keep looking until you find the money trail that will always, always lead to the truth.
To new things.
All right, guys, be part of this conversation. Not only subscribe to our channel, because we will be updating this on a daily basis, but lend your voices to the show. I think it'd be a fun way to contribute, and we're looking forward to hearing your comments. As always, Veronica, great job. Guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much.
See you guys.